In this video, we're going to go through some of RuneScape's most useful tools. These are things that are not necessarily in the game, but things that are super useful for all players using the game. Let's go. Now, we're going to start off with one that many people probably have heard about, and that is going to be the Alt-1 Toolkit. The Alt-1 Toolkit is jammed packed full of things that you can use while playing RuneScape to help your whole game be a lot easier and better, and just it's amazing. The Alt-1 Toolkit is famously known for its clue solver. This makes doing clue scrolls actually bearable to do and way more efficient. It's going to help you with puzzles. It's going to help you with every single step. Actually, it helps you with everything. Now, there's always the question when mentioning Alt-1 whether this is safe to use. Now, while this isn't actually made by Jagex, it has actually been confirmed that it's okay to use by a couple of JMods, I believe, in the past. If I can find the screenshots, I'll pop them up, but if I can't, then I guess trust me, bro. But also, I'm sure people who use this a lot in the comments will let us know. Now, I've used Alt-1 plenty of times in the past as well, and I know everybody who does clues uses Alt-1 all the time, not to mention people using Alt-1 for other things on stream as well. For example, Alt-1 also has things like a necromancy job gauge, which is going to show you better the amount of soul stacks you have and the crowster stacks you have as well. I believe it also has a bloat timer and other things too. I believe it is completely open source, so it has plenty of opportunity for people to check that it is actually safe to use for your account. And this also means that anything that can be used on Alt-1 is also open source as well, meaning that anything that becomes popular usually gets checked out and confirmed by a lot of people before you have to use it. But the amount of tools that you can get from Alt-1 is super useful, and you should definitely look into it and see what sort of things may suit you. All the links for everything I mentioned in here will be in the description, so if you want to get Alt-1 and give it a go, then it'll be down in the description. And Alt-1 is going to lead into the very next thing that we're talking about, which is actually kind of new. Now, I actually wanted to start with this one, but because a lot of people are going to use Alt-1 to install this, I wanted to mention that first, as it just made sense to do so. However, we're going to talk about the quest helper now. The quest helper is something that I made a video about pretty recently. Actually, I tested it out, checked it out in game, and actually wanted to give my thoughts on it and see if it was any good. As someone who doesn't really do or enjoy doing quests in RuneScape, I've really not done as many as I probably should have done. This was something that when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, no, I need to check this out, because if I do need to come and do quests at some point, well, I'll absolutely be using this from now on. The quest helper is something that is kind of similar to what you would expect from the one in old school RuneScape. Everybody's heard of this one if you've played old school, or even if you know people who've played old school, or even if you haven't, there's a good chance if you've played RuneScape 3 for a while, you've heard about people complaining how we don't have a quest helper. It basically tells you what your next step is, and you just click next, and it helps you get through the quest super easily without you having to tab out and check the wiki and all these different things. Well, this one plugs directly into Alt-1 Toolkit, so you'll have to download that first. You can use it without, but I would just recommend getting Alt-1 and using it through there. And then using this, it will direct you through your quest that you need to do super easily. Basically, this thing is going to save you a ton of time, a lot of headaches, and it has everything included in terms of what items you need, where to go next, the dialogue and the descriptions of what you actually need to be doing makes total sense. This is something I wanted to test myself when I actually tested it out, to see that it was written in a way that made sense and you could fully understand what was actually being said, rather than like being, I'm not too sure what that means. This has been made really well, and it is pretty early on, so expect upgrades in the future, expect this to improve. So if you do have quests to complete, then give this a go. It is definitely useful. Very quick reminder that there is Christmas merch available. The deadline for these are coming up, as they will need to be shipped soon to be on time, and also they are selling super quick. So if you are interested in grabbing yourself something or someone else something as a bit of a gift, then check out the merch store. There's other stuff on there that are on sale as well, and I appreciate it a ton. Now I'm going to go ahead and assume everybody's heard of this one, which is the RuneScape Wiki. That's because it's built into game as well. You can use this by clicking on the search icon by your chat box. But I couldn't make a RuneScape's most useful tools video and not mention the wiki, right? Like, imagine if I didn't mention the wiki. For those of you that don't know, though, really quickly, the RuneScape wiki is a Wikipedia for RuneScape. It has everything you could possibly think of on there, and when I say everything, I mean like everything. If you find something so small and like tiny and not really important in the game, and then wiki it, it's gonna be in there. This gets updated regular as well, like super fast. New quests will come in here as quest guides and stuff. New items of the game get a page like on the same day, and then information gets added as we learn more stuff. All the stats about bosses, everything. So the RuneScape wiki is something that a lot of players will use every single day. I know that I do. Maybe bookmark this in your web browser or something, because it's pretty damn useful. Another pretty common one, but probably not as common as the wiki, is the PVME Discord. I always mention this in many videos because I use a lot of the information from there, and that just kind of says to it how useful this place actually is. For anything PVM related, or bossing related, I guess, if maybe you don't call it PVM yet, this is probably one of the best Discords, if not the best Discord to be in, for extra information and all the extra little details that maybe the wiki doesn't have. This is a massive Discord with a ton of information about PVM in terms of bosses, item choices, gear like uses, and very specific rotations to get the absolute best out of killing a certain boss. The boss guides are like super specific and detailed. There's many different reasons that you might want to be in here. I know that one of the main reasons people use this Discord a lot is the upgrade path order. For example, in here you can actually have a written out list of items in which order you should actually buy these upgrades. This is actually insanely useful because you don't want to spend the amount of money that you make as a low level player on the wrong next item. Because if you do buy the wrong item in the wrong order, it can kind of drag you along a little bit. For example, a lot of people buy a Look of the Dwarves pretty early on. There's just not really any point. So having an upgrade order path written out like this can be very useful for a ton of players. But that's not all this place is for. There is insanely useful stuff. I've used it for boss guides like Forecast and stuff in the past. And I also use it quite a lot for this list here, which is the boss revenue list. It shows exactly how much to expect for killing a boss every single hour at these certain locations at certain kills per hour. You then adjust it for a more realistic kill per hour, as the people who made this just obviously insanely good at the game. It's an optimal list, of course, so it makes sense to have, but realistically make it to your amount and then just divide the price by that and see how much you can expect to make. But the PVME Discord is super useful, so as usual, they'll be linked in the description. All right, and finally, we're going to talk about something that I use on a daily basis, and that is going to be an item price checker. Items in the Grand Exchange will give you a mid-GE price, but for those of you who have maybe just got into the game or started buying high-value items recently, you're going to quickly find out that these GE prices aren't very accurate. Sometimes you will have to pay way over the GE price, and sometimes you will have to pay way under the GE price, or you will be able to sell something for way under the GE price. This can be kind of a shock for newer players, because you're at Lucky Cripply Mama and you're like, oh, I can afford this, and you try and buy it, and no, it's actually way overpriced. This is especially true with newer items to the game, say new boss drops or new releases in any way whatsoever. So a price checker can come in very handy. However, you do have to be a little bit careful with these, and you also have to use a little bit of common sense and just sort of think about your pricing a little bit. This is because this is all player run. Now, the one I'm going to talk about is LEGG. LE.GG is the website, and I'll link it in the description. And on here, you can actually enter in any item name of something that is a little bit more valuable. They don't put things on here like every single item, but the majority of more valuable items that you may want to price check, say boss drops for example, you will definitely be able to enter in here. Then you'll click on it from the list of the drop down thing, and it'll take you to that page. This is going to show you the recently reported trade values of people who use LE. At least I believe that's how it works. Either way, the reported price values are here, and it will tell you whether it is insta sold, insta bought, or not. You can see these prices on the right hand side. They also have dates reported of when these are. Now, sometimes you're going to notice these dates are quite old. This is just because it's not been updated in a little while, but it still gives you a rough estimate of the last traded price. Now, this is the part where you kind of have to sort of use yourself as the last sort of line of common sense, I suppose. If you're looking at a graph that is all over the place, then it's going to be kind of hard to gauge whether the pricing is going to be, but it still gives you a rough estimate. Just use this as kind of like a guideline. Don't take it as a final price. For example, if it says 50 million GP, maybe it won't sell for 50 million GP exactly, but it's going to be in that ballpark. If the age of the last report was a long time ago, if it's been like weeks or months, then don't really expect this information to be accurate at all. You're probably not going to be looking anywhere near that price at this point, unless the item just really hasn't changed in price at all. Basically, don't expect this to be 100% accurate information, and don't treat it that way. Just use it as something that tells you roughly the ballpark that you're expecting. It's also pretty useful as well for when you get a boss drop that is valued on the Grand Exchange way over what it actually is, which is pretty common at places like maybe Telos, for example, or Zamorak even. If you get a Zamorak bow piece drop and then you take it to the Grand Exchange and it doesn't sell, LE will probably tell you a more accurate price for this. You can look it up, and if you see that it's a few hundred mil less, don't necessarily go and drop it in there for a few hundred mil less. Just bring your price down and expect to be around that ballpark figure. It's a shame that we need this sort of thing. If the GE could just have this built in, the last 5-10 trades would be absolutely amazing. And surely that's not too hard to do, right? Like, it just keeps the last 5, 10, maybe 20 something trades or something to stop manipulation. It shows them in the GE history, and then you can just go off of that. I don't know. But either way, I use price checkers all the time, and it's definitely something that you could probably check out. And those are some things that every RuneScape player should know and absolutely take advantage of. These are super useful, and I mean, they can make your game and experience a hell of a lot better. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, please do leave a like, sub to the channel if you are new around here. I believe over 50% of you guys still aren't subbed to the channel, but you still watch all the videos, so check on that one. And also get your Christmas merch orders in, as the deadline is coming up. Other than that, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one. So guys, bye.